Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Peter Wolde, how do you do? The perception of the world that is stuck in our heads is distorted and outdated. I suspect that your worldview is also not up to date. If I may, I would like to test that by asking a question. What do you think literacy? What is the percentage of adults globally that can read and write? And the definition of literacy is a basic understanding of language and being able to describe your daily activities. What do you think? 80, 60 or 40%? Thank you. The correct answer is 80%. Sadly, only 1 in 5 people know this. The vast majority gives the incorrect answer. I mean, you're better off asking a monkey to guess using bananas with A, B and C written on them. Of course the monkey is not smarter than we are, but apparently one scores better by guessing randomly. Another example, 87% of the people think that global extreme poverty has remained the same over the last 20 years, or that extreme poverty has even increased. Fortunately, the opposite is true. Over the last 20 years, the proportion of people living in extreme poverty has halved. This is the perception most of us have with the Western versus developing world. I will show you that this view on life expectancy and family size is no longer correct when looking at the developments of the last 200 years. And pay very close attention because the next slide moves really fast. The number of babies per woman plotted against life expectancy in 1800. Every country a dot, and we see many children and we don't get old. 200 years in 10 seconds and we undeniably see the same trend everywhere, irrespective of region, culture or religion. Life expectancy increases and the number of babies per woman decreases. At this moment, the number of babies per woman is 2.5 globally, and this will decrease to slightly below 2. We therefore don't need to be afraid the world will explode because of unstoppable population growth. The world is doing pretty well. Granted, 10%, 750 million people still live in extreme poverty, and of course those people need to be helped out. At the same time, that means that the vast majority of the world has a reasonable or good income, 90% to be correct. And of course, there's still a lot of wrongdoing, but overall, we are progressing. Most people are not aware of these kind of developments, and that's how we end up with this distorted worldview. What is causing this? How do these ignorance and preconceived ideas arise? 3 reasons, and it starts here. This is the street in Alphen aan den Rijn where I grew up. My experience with friends and family shaped my worldview, what is and isn't normal. And therefore we all, by definition, have a personal bias consisting of preconceived ideas and prejudices we carry along. Next, I went to school. School is good and important. However, schools are also biased. For instance, my primary school was Protestant Christian. Furthermore, it is still no common practice to regularly update the teaching material. And this way, I stacked outdated facts on top of my personal bias during my time in school. And the third factor is the news. When you watch the news, it looks like the world will end tomorrow. Wars, attacks, disasters. The amount of misery seems insurmountable. And in the current digital age, there is more news than we receive faster than ever before. Good news doesn't sell. From a genetic point of view, there is a reason our brain is focused on bad news. And it used to be very helpful. Yeah? If in the prehistoric you heard something rustling and thought, wow, that's probably not a bear, of course it tended to be one. Ah! And that focus on fear is accommodated by the media. This way, for many people, a worldview arises that is upside down, where increasing trends seem to decrease and the other way around. The modern age has given us a lot of good things, but at the same time, I'm concerned about our way of debating. Because I believe the following is happening, and this is the core of why I'm so keen to tell you this story. Look, there are challenges like climate change, but at the same time opportunities like new technologies. We must jointly discuss those. But when I notice how unfounded and unnuanced people are shouting, especially on social media, we must, as far as I'm concerned, work really hard on a more nuanced worldview. We must learn to look differently. Evolutionary, we are used to look at the world through this lens, driven by our fears, with a tendency to exaggerate and looking at events from one point of view. That used to be very smart for our survival, but now it's blocking us. Because when you let the current events approach you this way and you apply that old filter, then indeed this view in your head arises that everything is getting worse. We must close our borders, we better abandon democracy, we must leave the EU, and the world will soon come to a dreadful end. On the other hand, we have the Factfulness framework, a framework that applies nuance in how we observe the world and also looks beyond our daily busyness. Factfulness is defined as the stress-reducing habit of only carrying opinions for which you have strong supporting facts. When you apply this framework to your daily activities, by judging fear in the right proportion, don't elevate exceptions to become the norm, and look at trends over a longer period. Then a more objective worldview arises, which allows to form more nuanced opinions and make better decisions. In order to apply Factfulness, I warmly invite you to visit the site of Gapminder to get acquainted with the legacy of one of my heroes, Hans Rosling. By subsequently passing the Gapminder test, you become, just like me, the proud owner of the Global Fact Certificate. Thank you.